It's nice to be here because every time I ever have a chance to be with campus ministers, that's what I want to do. Because my life of 38 years has been in campus ministry, and I think it's the most wonderful group of people. Every time we have conferences, we have get-togethers, I enjoy so much to being with you all. Today is, I would like to start, because I need it, I'd like to start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. This is a prayer of John Henry Cardinal Newman. Oh my God, my whole life has been a course of mercies and blessings shown to one who has been most unworthy of them. I require no faith, for I have had long experience as to thy providence towards me. Year after year, thou hast carried me on, removed dangers from my path, recovered me, recruited me, refreshed me, borne with me, directed me, sustained me. O forsake me not when my strength faileth me, and thou shalt never will forsake me. I may securely repose upon thee. Sinner as I am, nevertheless, while I am true to thee, thou wilt still and to the end be superabundantly true to me. John Henry Cardinal Newman. What a guy. And the guy has said that a university that does not have a theology department in it is not a true university. You have to have theology or teaching of theology in order to be, because he was convinced, and rightly so, that theology was the unifying power of all the academic efforts. That if we had theology would be able to bring together the academic efforts through the rest of the academy. So he was a tremendous man, and to me has always been a great inspiration. I've loved being able, hopefully, perhaps, to carry on some of his work. His work is the one that I use basically. Well, there's a book on the life of Newman, which is beautiful. And then there's the other work that he wrote that applies to us so much, and that is the idea of a university. And I suppose most of you have read that already. But if you haven't, read it, because you will gain great inspiration from it. So I hope today to talk a little bit, and I talk basically from experience. I talk basically from the efforts that we put into making the campus ministry, making it effective. So I don't talk, I'm not an academician, I'm not a PhD, so, and I don't have those degrees, I just have experience. And I remember when the Archbishop, I was 8 years in campus ministry at Washburn University in Topeka, which is about 5,000 people. It was a very comfortable ministry. The Archbishop then called me one day and said, I want you to go to the University of Kansas. And I go, oh no. I was afraid to go there. I didn't know the place at all. So then he didn't say anything more, and he said, about a week later he called back, and he said, I still want you to go to the University of Kansas. And I argued with him again. I said, I'm not the right person. I think you're making a mistake, because I don't think I can do that. So he called the third time. And the third time I said, Archbishop, I don't even have a PhD. And he said, I'm not sending you there as a PhD. I'm sending you there as a priest. Go. Well, that, to me, was the strongest belief or faith that anybody ever placed in me. And he had the ability, and this is what we need as development directors, we need the ability to see further into people than they see into themselves. We need to see their potential. We need to see their possibilities. And then it is up to us to call those gifts forward. So that's what one of the big things that I learned to do, basically through him. I also went to him, and he said, just go for a year and look the place over and see what you think the possibilities are. Well, we had a ministry there before that was not too effective, I guess. And so I went to him after about a year, and I said, oh, we need a lot. I mean, we don't even have a place for an identity. We have this house, and the house was not in good shape. I said, oh, no, it's just not good. So he said, well, we got to raise some money. And I said, oh. And I said, and I'm thinking that he was going to reach into his drawer, pull out a list of names, say to his secretary, call these people, and we'll go visit them, and we'll get the money. But he didn't say that. He said, I said, well, we do need quite a bit. And he said, yeah, I know that. And he said, you're going to do it. And I said, I don't know how to raise money. And here's a really good thing. I hope this is helpful to you guys. A really beautiful thing he said to me. He said, you don't have to. You just have to know the people who do know how to raise money. And it was so true. This was not in any way going to be a one-person show. I had to go out and find people. And now I want you to know about divine providence. Because divine providence is with you all the time. God is with you. So he said, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to give you $15,000. I want you to kind of do just do cosmetic stuff, because we don't know what the future is going to be. So we did. And this one morning, we were out there painting the house and everything, and then this big white Continental goes down the street, and the brake lights come on, and the car backs up, and it comes into the driveway. And I thought, oh my, what is this? And this distinguished gentleman got out, and he introduced himself, said, hey, Father, how you doing? I'm John O'Leary. I said, John, nice to meet you. I'm Father Vince Krische. He said, what's going on here? And I told him. And he said, well, and I said, come on in. Well, the inside we were painting too. And so he got inside, and we talked a little bit. Then he got ready to leave, and he got to the door, and he reached into his pocket, and he pulled out his checkbook, and he wrote me a check for $100. Now, in 1977, $100 is bigger than it is today, you know. But in 1977, he wrote me that check, and he handed it to me. And then he reached into his other pocket, he pulled out his card, and he said, if you need any help, give me a call. Well, this gentleman was the head of was on the board of trustees for the KU Endowment Association, which is a huge endowment. He was also the president of the Alumni Association. So I waited. And here, I'm just telling you the story because you guys don't know what God has in plan. You don't know how he's going to lead you. You know, like Newman said, lead me on. But the reason that I want you to know that is because you go and you say to God, do with me what you will. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'll do everything I can if I can find that's what you want me to do. So then when he gave that gift, I looked at it, I thought, man, I never dealt with people like this before. I mean, people of this level. He owned a bank, and he had a lot of interest in farmland in western Kansas. And so he went, and he told me that, so then I finally got the courage to call him. And I said, John, this is Father Vince. I said, remember that we met when you came by? Yeah, I remember. And I said, I need you. And he said, okay. He said, I'll be down at the university for a meeting. They're going to have the Alumni Association in the next week. And he said, I'll be down there and I'll stop by. So he came by, and we talked a little bit about what we had to do. And he said, and in this house that we had, he said, do you know what? When I was a student here, this is where a bunch of us gathered in this house because one of our fellow students lived here. So they gathered in that house, and so the house even itself was special to him because he had been there. Okay, that's a long story, but I just want you to know this story because you each have your own stories and things that happen to you that are beyond you. You had no idea what's going to happen. It happens, and I believe it's all divine providence. So I went, and I tell you, I loved that. I was there for 28 years, and then I went back for 2 more years, and I could have stayed until today, but sometimes bishops have different ideas. So I don't know if any of you know that or not, but just in case you don't. That's a part of the presentation, though. So you're safe. Anyway, so I was trying to figure out what would be a good format for this presentation this afternoon. And I thought about it for a long time, and then it came to me. It came to me in the word happiness. Each one of us in our lives wants to be fulfilled. We want to attain to something that's worthwhile. We want to be a good instrument. We want to be a faithful servant of the church. That's what we want to do, and that provides happiness. So starting from that point, I developed, I tell you something else. When I do something, at the end I tear it up. Because if I'm asked to do it again, it's got to be better than it was today. So this is not a request, but you did get it. But anyway, I developed the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes of Campus Ministry Fund Development. And in these Beatitudes, I tried to express some of the things that we will do that can provide us great satisfaction, great results, great friendships, great everything. So I'm going to try to do that. Now, I got more than 8. I started, oh my gosh, there's more than 8. There's a lot of Beatitudes on campus ministry. But the first Beatitude that I wrote, though, is that the blessed is the development director. Henceforth, I will call just a DD. I get them mixed up sometimes with diocesan director and development director, but we're development directors, who willingly and openly works with each person on the staff responsible for a particular aspect of the ministry. And he invites their assistance, for no one as a development director can be a lone ranger. You have to be a staff member. You have to establish relationships with each person on your staff, because the product that you're going to go out and try to sell is what they're doing. What are they trying to accomplish for the center? What is their responsibility? What are they trying? Are the efforts that they put forth? So when they do good, then I can go out and sell it, and that really works good, because it shows how all of us are together as a team, and we're together in the Spirit. So no one can be a lone ranger and be a development director on a staff. The whole staff has to see themselves as development directors. The person who is responsible for whatever it might be, that person is a development director. Because what that person does is what I will be able to take forth to other people and make it work. So that's I think, an important golden rule. And then in order to do that, then the development director has to keep the staff informed of everything. You have staff meetings, you have to go through and you have to tell the rest of the staff what's happening. Let them know the success, their shortcomings, the opportunities in funding. For the funds will be forthcoming, and they will be people who will know that they have invested in a winner. That's what we want. People want to invest in a winner. And they don't want to invest in a program that 3 years from now is going to be defunct, or a program that you get it. You got to be a winner. And when you're a winner, you'll have other people who will join you and follow you. So then blessed is the development director who has the trust of those to whom they are accountable, for they will move the ministry forward. So if the bishop or the superior, whoever has asked you to take this responsibility for on a campus, then you want to be sure that you have their trust. That's where I was with the Archbishop. When he sent me there, I knew I had his trust. I knew I could stretch out to the end of the branch, which we have to do. We have to stretch out, but I knew he would never let me fall. I knew he had my back. I knew that whatever happened, and sometimes, I would get a little discouraged or depressed or something like that. Oh, I don't know if this is ever going to happen, And I'd go down and I'd visit with him, and I would call him, and he would say, "Oh, what time do you want to come in?" Like he was available to me almost whenever I wanted. So I would go, and then he would be able to. I would leave. I was ready to drive home, ready to go, because I knew again that he had my back. I knew that I did, and I didn't want to let him down, nor make him regret anything about the ministry. So then, when we get into the actual fundraising, here's what we have to do. Never, ever use the word need. Don't go to someone and say, "Oh, we need computers," or "We need this, we need that." Don't ever do it, because people, after you're finished doing it, they'll say, "Oh, okay, you need that." So, but you don't challenge them. What you do is you change the word need to the word opportunity. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to say to this person whom you are visiting, and this is person-to-person visits. And we'll get into, there's some different styles. But on this person-to-person visit, when you go there, you want to say, how would you like to have the opportunity to help us get the word out to people? And they would say, well, what would that be? And you say, if you could help us to get, whatever we need to get, So make it an opportunity for the benefactor. And don't ever use the word donor. The word donor always reminds me of a kidney or a heart or something like that. I always use the word benefactor. Now, you know what a benefactor means? It means one person who wants to do well. They want to do good. Come from Benefactors. So benefactor. So always use that word. It's a word that has dignity. Donor is like somebody that you need, and it's not like you're equals, So you always use that. That's the way I would think about it. Always use the word benefactor. So when you go from need to opportunity to the benefactor, then the benefactor wants to know, well, what is this going to allow me to do? And not in a selfish way, but it's kind of like, what's this going to do for me? But they don't say it in those words. What will I gain from doing this? So then the other thing that the next, do you know which one we're on now? We're on number 4, the fourth beatitude. That doesn't make any difference. So the thing that we look at for in the ministry is when each staff member sees that they are a development director. It's really important. There's not a development director. You may have a development office, but then there will be other offices in your organization. But every person is a development director. And every person will be able to see what is their contribution to the overall work of the center. Now, the thing what you want to do is when you do that, you bring the team together. You bring a unity into your staff. They want to work together. They see something good is happening. They see that they're going to be a part of helping make that happen. So when they're able to do that, then they get invested personally as a staff member. This was, I think, part of the reason why when I went to KU in 1977, the budget was $32,000. That budget came entirely from the diocese. Nobody had responsibility for giving money. The diocese just, and when the bishop had his annual drive, well, he would use us on the list, campus ministry at the university, so it helped him. But when I left, 28 years later, see, it takes a long time, but our budget was $1.2 million. And we still had $67,000 coming from the diocese because the bishop said, I want you in this diocesan drive. So I said, okay, yeah, it's going to help. So, but that's how you can that's how you can grow, how you can develop what you start with. So then I think that the next thing we have to do, are you guys getting this? Am I going too fast? Or I remember one time I was giving a presentation at Catholic University to a group of people. And pretty soon this lady, hold it. She was raising her hand up and said, oh my gosh, I thought something happened, She said, slow down. I can't keep up with you. So I don't want to if I get ahead of you, just say hold it. So the next idea is a development person who really believes deeply within themselves the value of the ministry, the importance of the ministry for the church, and for the whole church in particular. We work in one aspect, is the ministry to Catholic higher education. Now, did I tell you about the word campus ministry? Did I? I don't like that term. It doesn't say anything. It does say, well, this is something that happens on campus, but then we have barbershop campuses, and we have beauty shop campuses. There are all kinds of campuses. So campus doesn't really identify us very much. And ministry, well, we don't know what that is. So I like to narrow it down to Catholic ministry in higher education. It's a really important thing, I think, for us. It helps us to realize who we are and what we are doing, and what we are asking people to become involved in. Not something which is sort of just, in fact, I think we borrowed the name from other religions that they just had campus ministry because they didn't have the tradition in higher education. They didn't have the tradition. You know, the great Benedictines, you know, they began in the 4th century, or 400s, they began the cathedral schools. And that's when the church started working in the whole area of education and place not only education in the faith, but education in all areas of human life. So when the development director understands this, they see this is so important. What I can do to help these students who have been entrusted to me, not by my choice, they're here. And I have to do what I can do to help their lives, which would, after they graduate, to be really great lives. So I think each one of us, we have to know the history of the Catholic Church in higher education. I really believe that while I am in a public university, the goal is to provide for students in the public university what they would have received if they were in a Catholic college or university, to bring that faith perspective. And this is why I think that the Catholic colleges and universities that you have in your area can be so helpful to you if you connect with them. They will have perhaps faculty people who could give lectures at your place. There are different ways that you could recognize the working together of yourself in public ministry and Catholic higher education itself. It's very, very, very good. I like to see this as an umbrella. You know, higher education is the umbrella, and then under that, you know, we have Catholic colleges and universities, we have private colleges and universities, and we have public colleges and universities. So we are all in the same work. We in Catholic higher education are in the work for a different result. And that's what I believe. Oh, didn't you love Dr. Wu's talk this morning? She was so wonderful. And it was so simple. She put it all together in such a simple way. And everything that she said was just so true. So we have to help the Catholic Church in higher education. Now, when we look at that question, I want to ask you to look at it this way. The church, the life of the church is twofold. She has her internal life, and she has her life in the world, or her external life. Now, I don't know if I should say this or not, but we used to call it the in-house church and the out-house church. So we have both, you know, and we have to be concerned about each element. So what about the life of the church within herself? This is so important today because of the whole call of Vatican Council II to the laity to take up their roles within the church. And so then we have to teach people very simple things about what the church needs. We have to work with them to understand liturgy. What is liturgy and what is happening in liturgy? What are we doing? And why is it so important? And why is the church now exercising many ministries during this one event? What is she showing about her life? What is she witnessing to about who we are? And so we have to teach people what is liturgy. And then we have to teach people who want to be a lector. How do you lector? How do you make the Word of God that you're going to proclaim, how do you make it come in alive in you? How does the Word become flesh in you? And then you project that. So that you don't really so much read the Bible or read the scripture or the reading for the day. You read yourself. And that's why it takes a lot of preparation for a person. I can tell on Sundays, I'm in a parish now, I just help out. And I'm in the parish, and then we have lectors. Well, you can tell the people who really prepared, who really read that reading, who really meditated on it, you can tell as soon as they get up to read. And you can tell those who didn't. They just showed up and said, where's the lectionary, and put it out. So it's really important. And that's what we can do. We can provide for the churches in her internal life really great lectors. We can provide for the church in her internal life and the whole role of the Eucharistic minister. You know, people sometimes think that's just a technical job. But they got to know that when I say the body of Christ, I'm saying you are the body of Christ. I am the body of Christ. And between you and me is Christ. Every person who comes to that line for the communion, the body of Christ is all of us. And after communion, when you have a communion reflection, you know, you think the presence of God in this building enhanced in the life of each person. It's awesome. When we can teach our future Eucharistic ministers about the Eucharist, we teach them the theology of the Eucharist, the theology of the body, the theology of personal relationships, the theology of what it is with Christ living between us and among us. It's very powerful. And they become a real Eucharistic minister and not just a technician. That's what I think. I think that maybe Dr. Portier was kind of saying this morning too, that we don't need to develop technicians. We need to develop people. And our society wants to turn everybody into a technician. Let me teach you how to do this or how to do that. But we want to develop people into persons. And you guys, here's what I want you to see. This is the unique gift that we as church have to bring to the university. When we can say to the university, well, we don't even have to say it. They know it. They know that we have a gift that they don't have, and we can bring that gift to the university. You know, when I was at the university, I wanted to know all of the deans of the colleges. I wanted to know all of the chairs of the departments. Whatever aspect of the university they were. I wanted to get to know these people. I wanted to be able to be as involved in the university as would be possible for me in a public university. So I became chaplain for the football team. Now, people say, oh, God, chaplain of the football team. Well, you have better things to do than that. Yeah, but you know what? Every Saturday I get to get out in front of 50,000 people. And people say, hey, who's that guy down there? Oh, that's the priest, you know. Makes a message. It sends to the people that the church is present here. And those of you who might know John Flynn, who does a lot in campus ministry fundraising with Focus, he was a football player. And so he didn't play very much, and he was mostly on the sidelines, well, which is where I was. And but he was rambunctious. They told this guy said, God, you know, sometimes you think when they're running down for a touchdown, John Flynn's going to jump off the bench and go tackle him, you know, even though he's not on the playing field, you know. Well, okay. but John, we would stand and talk a lot. Well, it happened then one day I was going to take, we had a group of students going to Saltillo, Mexico for spring break. And all of a sudden, it was like on Saturday, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody old enough to drive one of these vans. They've got to be at least 21. And so, this is divine providence again. God, John was at church with his parents, and he came out after Mass. Excuse me. He came out after Mass, and I said, hey, John, how old are you? And he said, well, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be 21 years old on Tuesday. Oh, really? Yeah. What are you going to do over spring break? Well, I'm going to go condition for football, and then I'm going to just kind of take it easy. And I say, hey, John, I need you. Well, you know, he had other plans. But his mother was right behind him. I didn't even put this all together. And she said, John, he needs you. So they went on. And Sunday afternoon, he called me and said, well, I'll go. Because he was going to be 21 and he could drive. Well, I tell you, it was such a wonderful experience. And it all came from divine providence. God sent, he went down there and he saw the people in Saltillo, Mexico, and the challenges that they were dealing with. And his faith just blossomed. It just grew. And now he does everything for the church. He was going to be an insurance salesman. So he turned away from that and became a salesman for God in the life of the church. So that's what I want you to know. God will always be working. He's with you because, when we built St. Lawrence Center, I said to myself, if this place ever gets built, it's going to be proof for the existence of God in the 20th century because he's put it all in my hands and I don't know what I'm doing. But I want to find the people who did. So we want to get then prepared students to live the internal life of the church. One of the big things that the church needs today is we need teachers in our Catholic schools who understand the philosophy of Catholic education. 75% of our teachers in our Catholic schools are coming from the public universities, and they treat the Catholic school as though it were a public school. Excuse me. I hope that helps. They treat the Catholic school, their idea of education is what they gained from the university. So we need, with Catholic education students, we need to provide another course. So I went to the university and I said, I knew the assistant dean of the school. And I said to him, I said, do you think there's any possibility that we could get a credit through the university on teaching in a Catholic school? And he thought about 2 minutes and he said, I don't know, why not? All the schools we have in Kansas, all the Catholic schools, I don't think there would be any problem. He said, I'll check with the dean and I'll let you know. So they came back and they said, you can do it. Now here are the conditions. The person who teaches that class has to be a PhD. The person who teaches the class will be able to determine where they want that class to take place, if they want a room on the campus or wherever. They have to be able to do all the university requirements, filling out papers and all that, and grades and all that kind of stuff. So we did it. Then I had to go to the archdiocese and I said to them about this possibility, and the archbishop said, well, we have the superintendent of our schools. She can teach that course. Well, you guys, you know what? It was so beautiful because she agreed to do it. So then she comes and we have, I think it was like 12 students who decided that they wanted to take that course. And they came, and she was teaching this course, then the students said, oh, this is a whole different approach to education. They learn more about the formation of the person and not just the text or not just the topic, but becoming a better. They loved it, and she did such a wonderful job. Well, then a year later I was transferred, and then we don't have that program there anymore. So, but it wasn't my fault, 'cause okay, so then we have to look at then that all the internal life. Oh, in communication, so important because we have a diocesan newspaper, and every diocese has their newspaper, and they have other messages that they send out. So we have to help the students that are in the public university understand what is the special perspective that we bring to communication, and we have to study that. Where I live right now, the lady next door to me, she's in the School of Journalism, the J School, but she travels all the time. But what her travels are, she travels to developing nations to help them establish schools of journalism in their colleges. It's not a school of journalism, it's a department of journalism. She helps them to do that. And it's fascinating. She goes to Dubai and to Argentina, and she goes all over all the time. And the sad thing about that is she makes me watch out for her house, but it's not hard to do. So that when we look at the interior life of the church, what does the church need? How can we develop strong, loving, committed Catholic adults in our parishes? I wanted to be able to send to every parish from which students came it'll be in the video, won't it? That noise. I would like to send to every parish students who are equipped theologically, spiritually. I want them to be equipped to take up their responsibility in the parish. It's so important. Our parishes need that. And the more we can have that, the stronger will our parishes be and the stronger the church will be. So we want to prepare them for that. So the life of the church within herself is a big concern for us. And that has to be part of our vision statement. Then we have the life of the church in the world. And this is where we can really, we also have very important things to offer. And to every academic degree at the university, which is a postgraduate degree, we need to bring the teachings of the church into that degree. So if we have a student in business, what are the business, and I like to use the word morals rather than ethics. Do you know the difference between the two? Morals would be a set of beliefs based upon revelation. What is God asking of us here? Ethics is based upon human reason. Ethics can be good. I mean, it is good. But morals will always take us further than ethics will take us. So we want to make sure that we're able to help students understand business moral principles. And students and faculty. I'll never forget this, you guys. One day, we had a faculty member who's Catholic and was really a great man. And we were talking about this a lot and everything. And then he was asked to teach a class on business ethics, which he joyfully did. And then at the end of the year, when we had a graduation, they had sort of just a little lunch get together for the people who were graduating with master's and doctorate degrees. And I was invited. So I went to that. And this one student got up and he said, you know, I never wanted to take this class. And now I know why. Because now I have to do business in a different way. Once that element of faith and God gets in there, it changes. It just enlightens everything, and it spreads it out. So in many other instances, you know, we had a program, because we have a center there for children who are intellectually challenged. And so many of them are mongoloid children, many of them have other mental and physical issues. So we had this woman, and she was getting her doctorate degree in special education. So when we were starting this program called the REACH program, which was Religious Education and Activities for the Community Handicapped. When we were starting that program, I went to her and I said, hey, Marilyn, you know all about how to deal with people in special needs. And she said, yeah. I said, will you get involved in this program? No, don't have time. I had too much to do. I'm working on a thesis or whatever she was doing. She didn't want to get involved in it. I said, no. I said, well, I thought maybe if you would, you might get some practical experience, you know. So she still said no. Well, then finally, she agreed to it. And after, while she went through, she helped me. At the end of the year, after she was helping me, she was able to say, she said to me, you know what? This program made all the difference in my degree. And I said, why? She said, because as a special ed major in a public university, I was taught that the child is a project. And my goal is to get the child to do something that they hadn't done before, so that I would feel good about what I did. She said, I got involved in this program, and she said, I discovered that the child is a person and I'm a person. And between us, we both have grown in ways that we would not have. I thought it was so beautiful. And then, then we had the Special Olympics. Well, this woman who was in the program, Leona, she was in church one night, and they were going to, they're going to have the Special Olympics, and she's going to run in the mile, or the half-mile race. So she wanted me to, she said, come, you got to come. Yeah, I will be there. I'll get out there, and I'll be there at the Special Olympics. So I go out there, and she said, oh, Father, pray for me, pray for me, pray for me. I said, okay, I'll pray for you. And I'd say prayer for her, She started to run, and she went about 5 feet, and she fell. Oh, it was horrible. She was so embarrassed. And she got up, and she walked away. And for the rest of the year, she wouldn't even hardly look at me. She was just so mad. And so this one Saturday in springtime, this other kid was gone. And so the next Saturday for Mass, he was there. And I said, Eddie, where were you last week? We missed you. And he said, I was at Special Olympics. And he was showing his medals and everything, And this lady's in the front pew. Oh, I said, well, we missed you, but we prayed for you. And he was like, this lady in the front pew, she stands up and she says, oh, yeah, he prayed for me too, and I fell flat on my face. So be careful if you ever ask. Yeah, be sure you know who you're asking to pray for you. So, but the life, the internal life of the church, helping the church in her ministries and forming people who are capable of those ministries. And then the external life, where we look at all of the, like I mentioned before, we look at the academic higher degrees, and we bring the faith of the gospel to them. In the business world, in the law world, people who are studying law, they study it without an idea of the purpose of law. They study it without really getting the faith perspective into that particular degree. They in the law school. So we started the Catholic Law Student Group. So let's get together. So every Monday at lunchtime, I'd go to the law school. We'd have this room that was reserved for us, and we would talk about it. And we would bring professional lawyers in as guest speakers, tell these students what the practice of law is like. And then we knew also how we had to affect the political system. So we would study political science. And the lawyers, the people in the practitioners would come and talk to the students. They could give a different perspective than I was able to give because I didn't know what that was. So that's where you had to call on all of these people. Now, so our goal in campus ministry, I thought, was that we would make the best parishioners and the best professionals. We would send them. Do you remember when John Kennedy, I think when John Kennedy was inaugurated, and I can't remember, he went to Yale, Harvard, I think, for 1 degree, and then for graduate degree, he went to Yale. And on his inauguration day, in his speech, he said, I have the best of both worlds, a Harvard degree and a Yale graduate degree, whatever. Well, I think that about us. When we have people coming to us in our campus programs, our ministry to higher education, we can give them the best of both worlds. I have a degree in whatever it is, and I have knowledge about my spiritual and faith life. I can be a good professional. I can be a good member of the church. So what we really want to do, that is why our ministry is so awesome, I think. I think God has placed these people in my hands, in our hands, and we have the opportunity to influence them. And do you know what? Most of our students who are there are theologically illiterate. They don't know much about their faith at all. They grew up at this time that I think Dr. Podier was talking about this morning. They grew up at a time when we didn't know much about what we were doing in religious education or in the Catholic schools. So they come to us theologically illiterate. But here's the deal I want you to know. They're interested. People, you know what? When a Catholic student's on a public campus and other students know that they're Catholic, they'll go to them and ask them questions. Well, I don't know. So then they'll run to the Catholic Center and say, hey, what about this or what about that? I had a professor in the school, in the religious education department. He called me one day and he said, what are you doing over there? I said, well, and he's a great guy. And I said, well, we're trying to do some teaching and we do some formation and we do some spiritual activities. And I said, why are you asking that? He said, we have a young woman in my class and we're studying Catholicism. And every once in a while something will be said and she raised her hand. She said, no, that's not right. And she would correct. And he said, at the amazement of her fellow students and with the respect of her professor, she is bringing Catholicism. Now, he's not Catholic. Never could figure out what he was. But and it's amazing. We wanted to send, that's what our students then begin the evangelization on the campus, where they get into the classrooms, they get into where the people are, and then they are able, in that situation, to bring the gospel values that we profess. It's just a tremendous opportunity before us. So we had other students. This one student was in civilization. What do they call that? Western civilization, yeah. And they were making some statements in there. He didn't think that they were right because he was learning different things from us. But he would come back over to the center, and he would want to get clarification so he could handle it in the classroom. And he could bring into the classroom the truth of Christ, and he could correct what was being said. And he did it, with dignity. And the professor, they respected that. Here's one of the things I think you guys believe, I would like to see you believe. How many of you are on public campuses? Oh, yeah, a lot of us. I would really want you to believe how important you are to the university or to the college. They need us. They want us. That professor said, we really need you here because you can do what we can't do. We're in public education, and there are certain things that we cannot do because of that. But you can do what we can't do. And the students then who graduate from this university can have a whole development in their education program. So remember the tremendous gift that we have. And when you know that, and when you deeply, deeply believe that in your heart, and you're committed to it, and you say, I'm going to do the best that I can to help this happen, then you can raise money. Then you can go to people, to benefactors, and you can tell them what you're about, and you'll be able to gain. You want them to join you in this effort to bring the Catholic Church into professional studies for the Catholic students at the public university, or however it fits whatever university that you are in. I found that, here's the other deal. Once they get that, they never lose it. Once they understand it, they really love it. So what I'm trying to ask you to understand is how important your role is, but how much we need the money to do what we want to do. My goal, my dream while I was there, but it was not mine, it was Archbishop's, he gave it to me. But he wanted to buy this whole land up. And he wanted to establish just Catholic theology and Catholic interfacing with the disciplines. So our dream, which was not yet realized, but maybe it will be because we got a new guy at the center. I think it's going to be great. He's one of our graduates. So our dream is that we will have programs that will be law and faith, science, natural sciences and faith, communication, journalism and faith, business and faith. We would have, that was the big dream, we would have this whole Catholic campus adjacent to the university. Now, I could just give that to you for a dream because I was never able to realize that. Because, see, what I think the problem is, we'd have to get people who had degrees in both fields, social work and theology. But we could do the theology and then we could move them into the other fields. I always thought that what we need to do is, at least for the first 2 years, provide theological education for the students. And then when they make a decision what they're going to go into, and all the fields are very important. Pre-med is critically important for us. So if we can equip our students before they go into medical school, then it really helps them a lot. We had a woman who is now a medical doctor, and she was in our program. And then when she went to medical school, she was I think like a semester from, it's when she was supposed to do her extern, you know what they call that, go to a hospital, yeah. And she was supposed to do that, and she told them, I can't remember what it was, but she knew that this hospital did abortions. And she said, I don't agree with that. And they were going to would not give her a degree. And so she comes to me and she said, I don't know what to do. She was going to quit. And so I said, wait a minute. Let me call somebody and find out. And so I called somebody, and he said, it's a very simple thing. I said, really? Tell her to use letterhead. How was it? She had to use letterhead from maybe the St. Lawrence Center, and then to write a letter that she was going to report them. And when she did that, she got her degree. Sometimes they don't realize all the implications of their decisions. But when we can challenge them, and she had the ability to do that, she was able to make a difference. Okay, are you guys getting tired? Oh, what time am I supposed to stop?
In about 10 minutes so that we have some time for questions.
I can talk for 10 more minutes?
10 more minutes.
What if I went to talk more?
No.
No, you don't.
You may not.
I mean, I do. Okay, well, here's the thing that I want to show you, some points. And they all begin with an I. Right. So the first point is that you have to identify the benefactor. By that I mean you have to read in your local newspaper the business section, the society section, other sections, wherever and if you find the name of that individual whom you want to go visit and ask for a gift, you can go and say, hey, I saw in the newspaper that you are promoted to vice president for something, or whatever it might be. It's amazing. They say, well, you know about me. And John Flynn, when he worked with me, or I worked with him, it's hard to say which would happen, but for 10 years, he would go and he would always read the business section every day. And he would read to see if there's anything about any of our benefactors that he could comment on. So you know something about them. So you read the newspaper, you seek to know as much about the benefactor as possible. So you don't go just with your message or your need, you go with them. And you know that if they are interested in a particular thing, then you would be able to talk to them about that. Informing. So if the first one is to know the information, what did I say that was? Oh yeah, identify. Well, you're going to think I'm bad. Identify. And then the second thing is to inform the benefactors of the highlights of the ministry. This is what we really are trying to do. Now, these are benefactors who have been with you, that you want to go give the personal talk with. They've been with you somehow, in some way. Maybe tangentially have been involved, but they know a little bit about what's going on. So you inform them. And then you involve the benefactor in the conversation, trying to figure out where is their interest in higher education. What do they want to see happening at the university that's not happening now? Try to involve the benefactor in the conversation. I want to tell you a little story about when we were building our chapel. One of the things that happened was that I really always wanted a pipe organ. And we have a big music department at the university. So we had the building committee, and I went to the university organ faculty, and I asked if they would be willing to serve on the search committee for a nice pipe organ. Well, they said, this is what we have at the university. This is what we need. That's what we want to do then. I said, so can you give us some information about that? So they wanted to make sure that, because they did not have a mechanical action organ. They had electronic and they had pneumatic pipe, but they did not have a mechanical action. And that's what they wanted. And so I go to this gentleman in Kansas City, and I talk to him, and I tell him about this, And so he was a little listening and everything. And then after a while, he said, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you $150,000 to get that organ. So I got home, because the organ builder was calling me. He's from Massachusetts, Lawrence, Massachusetts. Oh, this is just a little information on the side. Lawrence, Kansas is named after Lawrence, Massachusetts. Did you know that? Lawrence, Massachusetts settlers came to Lawrence, Kansas to keep Kansas free of slavery. So we are a free state, and have always been. So you come to Lawrence, you see Free State Bank, Free State Brewery, Free State Restaurant, everything's Free State. So anyway, he's talking about this, and then I called the guy. I said, Don, I got the money. So can you build the organ? He said, yeah. So they start building it. Well, then I got to go back to the donor every once in a while and say, give the progress. How's this going? How's this going? And he was a senator, so he was a big time guy. He knew how to do stuff. So then I went. So then the guy called me one day. He said, you know what? We have not decided on the frontal pipes that are displayed on the instrument. And he said, you know what I think? When I look at that building now, I think that if we put polished copper and polished pipes on the front, it will just make that whole building really a lot warmer. So I went to the benefactor, and I told him, that I talked to the donor, and he said that this would make it, that they would put polished copper. He said, I told you that I gave you $150,000, and that's what I gave you, and that's it. So I go back. I call the organ builder. Hey, Don, no way. He calls me back. I go to the donor, to the benefactor again. No. So then the third time I said to him, so why do you insist on this polished copper and polished silver? And he said, because it adds such warmth. And that's what you want in a church, It adds. So I went back, and I said, Mr. Darby, Senator Darby, I talked to the organ builder, and he said that if we put polished copper and polished silver on those frontal pipes, it would warm up that building. And Mr. Darby said, well, why don't we do it? So this is what you have to, in doing funding, you want to be able to really work with the person, the benefactor. And the greater the gift, the more intense work you want to do with that person. So then it's investment in the ministry. That's the goal of any personal visit that you give. Now, I'm going to give you another point that you probably already know this, but I'm going to tell you this. When you go to a personal donor and you ask him for a major gift, you talk to him about, what this is going to do and everything, and then you ask for the gift. Would you consider a $100,000 gift for this project? And when you say that, you shut up. Have you guys heard this? The first rule is that the first person who talks loses. So you want to just sit there, and sometimes it seems like forever. But you ask them, and then you just be quiet. So that's a good rule to remember. If I've done anything else today, I want you to remember that. Now, I want you to remember something else, remember, blessed is that development director who acts on the principle that a no is simply a slow yes. You just don't take no for an answer. When you believe in it, you know it's necessary, you know what good it's going to do. And so They say no, and you say to yourself, I'll be back. And then you can, so don't go away easy, especially because people are so wonderful. You know what I found out? What, what I love about this work is that generous people are the most wonderful people in the world. And that's who we want to work with. See, I got it down to this. There are, of all the world, say of all the country, of all the United States, there are few people who have the capacity to give really big gifts. Of those few people, there are fewer less who are willing to give a gift. And of those people, there are even fewer who are interested particularly in the Catholic perspective. So it narrows down. But, okay. You doing all right, everybody? Okay. So I just want to end up with to say that you want to immortalize the person somehow. Like, of course, on this pipe organ. See how I got that? I just want to tell you, was that this man's wife was a music major at the university. So I knew there would be interest in music. And I knew that, and his wife had died, and I knew that we could name this organ after her. This would be the Edith Darby pipe organ. Boy, he bought into it. So it helped immortalize his wife that he loved, and he knew that she loved music. And it's a beautiful instrument. If you ever come to Lawrence and you'd like to play the organ, and see about that. But then, you know what? Then after we did that, then the university said, we would like to use that for a teaching instrument. Well, sure. That's another way to bond, to bridge with the university. So the students would come, and they would practice, they would play, they would give concerts on that instrument. And then the university built a big organ building, which is really nice. So they don't use it as much, but I think they still do use it some. So here's another thing that's really important. As the development director, when you really love your ministry, you gotta love it. I mean, I loved what I was doing. I mean, it gave me life, you know. And even when you'd get discouraged sometime, you would keep the goal in mind. But you have to really enjoy working with people. And you have to work as hard as you can to understand the people with whom you work. You have to really know how, and this is really important, I cannot stress this too much, how to keep clear records. Record every gift that comes. Know every benefactor's giving history. And be able to know the requests that were made and the gifts that were solicited. Because good bookkeeping, record keeping is vital to the success. So 3 more items, you want them? Immortalize the person, and then you help the person internalize the gift. This is something that I really think that I would like to have. And then you help the person do something else.